Shut up and sit down.
What's up, beautiful people? Once again, thanks a lot for joining me. Can't believe we're at our 9th episode. Can't believe, honestly, that some of you are still allowing me to do this. I haven't received any messages from anyone asking me to stop yet, which is a great sign, because that means I haven't gotten to the point where I'm as annoying as I expected it to be. So thank you very much for the support that I'm getting. Thank you very much for the followers that are still listening. Thank you very much for anyone who's changed the slightest thing in their lives. It means the world to me. Now, before I go into any conversation today, I just want to ask a question, because I feel like I've been lying to myself for like a really long time. And before I even ask, is coffee like the most addictive drug out there? Because if you really like go into it, like drugs usually have hooks, you know, they have chemical hooks into them. And I don't know if you guys have ever stopped drinking coffee for like longer than 3 days, 4 days, but you get like the nastiest freaking headaches. You become more sluggish, you become tired, and more than anything else, you become just an unpleasant human being. And if you're like me and you're already a piece of shit, then eliminating that caffeine from your body is probably not the smartest thing to do, because you just become a worse person. So, if I could answer my own question, because once again, y'all can notice, sitting by myself, I personally do think caffeine is up there. Caffeine is probably like top 5 craziest addictions that you could have, because it's you might not necessarily feel like whatever you're putting into your body is bad, because compared to heroin and meth and all that other nice stuff, you're not really fucking up your body. That being said, I do think it is extremely addictive, and it does get a lot of people, in the sense that once again, you don't feel like you're necessarily hurting your body. But how many of you can go a day without having your morning, your afternoon, or your night coffee? And that's, I can speak like just alone saying night coffee, you know, it becomes part of your routine. And I personally can vouch for myself, and I can say that I drink 2 to 3 cups a day, which is not a healthy dosage, because I no longer drink it for the caffeine aspect of it, but I really, more than anything else, drink it because I want to have it in my body. That being said, it is not the worst addiction. It is a highly addictive compound, and I will take another sip. But does it hurt your body? So anyone listening, anyone who's remotely smart, who listens to this podcast, which I feel like the numbers are minimal, because anyone who follows me has to probably be on a certain level of specialness, because hey, half the stuff that come out of my mouth aren't necessarily the smartest things. But if you are part of the exception, and if you are the smart one, let me know. Honestly, I would really want to know how bad caffeine is for you. And I don't want the simple answer, oh, do your research, go read online. I can read online, but I feel like there's so many different message boards, and there's so many different opinions online, that it's not the same. I really want to get the opinion of someone who's well studied, who's well read, and has an intellectual smart output on it. So if anyone's listening, if anyone smart enough is listening, or just anyone who feels like they have a valid point on caffeine, let me know. Because apart from the fact that yes, caffeine in a high dosage can become a vasodilatator, I don't really see why it can be a bad thing. That's just my opinion. So once again, if you guys have anything smarter to weigh on it, feel free. I would more than love to hear it, and we can have a beautiful conversation. That being said, if you guys haven't noticed, I am rocking the white on pink today. So beautiful. Look at how nice and clean it's written. Of course, when you're a fat man like myself, you don't often wear white, because white is the least flattering color that you could be wearing. But when I'm doing a podcast and I can cover myself, I like to play a little more gutsy, and I like to go with the white. So for those of you who aren't aware, the sponsor, like always for this podcast, is the Keep It Lean Apparel website. I'm going to give you guys the same spiel I give every single time, but because I do wholeheartedly believe in it, it is probably the most comfortable wear you can find inside and outside of the gym, and you will genuinely stand out. And there is a good feeling in knowing that the product you're wearing is actually from Montreal and not just outsourced from the middle of nowhere. So if you do care about what you're putting onto your body, and if you remotely care about how you look when you step outside of the house, hey, you should probably go check it out. keepitleanapparel.com. Once again, link is probably going to be somewhere over here. And in the bottom of the YouTube video for whoever's watching it on YouTube. And if you guys are on Instagram, then you guys can always check my page out. It is on there. Once again, Keep It Lean Apparel. Go check it out. Probably the best Montreal, fresh, athletic, inside and outside gear you can find for both women and men. Now, put that aside. What I want to talk about today is quite frightening, in my opinion. I took a hot yoga class last week. No, over the weekend, actually. I took a hot yoga class over the weekend. I don't know if any of you have ever realized, but I am 99% convinced that hot yoga is in and of itself a cult. Now, hear me out. Hear me out. It targets, yes, there are men. There are men that take hot yoga, but in majority it targets women, late 20s, early 40s. Smart demographic point. There's some weird chanting going on in that room. I don't know if you guys have ever taken yoga, and I might be wrong. This is just my opinion, guys. Of course, it's a talk show, and I like to take it lightly. But there's some weird chanting going on. At the end of the class, everyone lets out an om together, which I find extremely scary. Because if you haven't been in that room, when there's like 25 women saying the same thing at the same time, it kind of gives you a scary feeling. So if you guys are out there worried about cults and busting cults, or being a part of a cult, first, before we bust a cult, if you want to be part of a cult that you can take care of your body in, then maybe hot yoga is the cult you're looking for. Because I don't feel like there's any hazing going on. I don't feel like there's any harsh credentials that you have to admit to before you're part of that cult. So if you want to join forces with the hot yoga group, then that's probably a cult you should attend to. But jokes aside, I loved it. Honestly, it was, for someone who's never taken a hot yoga class, it was a good challenge, and more than anything else, it was a good way for myself to understand that there are certain movements that my body still can't do, and that is a humbling feeling to look around you, like I mentioned, and seeing some women that are maybe in their late 40s or early 40s doing certain movements that I cannot do. So that already puts you in a place where you're like, shit, there's always something that you could be learning. And then an hour into it, once you leave the class, you genuinely feel better. You feel like your body's more centered. You feel like your brain is more aware. And once again, why I mean a cult, you feel like you belong. Once again, a cult, you belong to something bigger, which is it's a great feeling to have for anyone who doesn't want to find that feeling through a gym concept. If you're not necessarily looking to be constantly part of a gym group, if you're looking for a different alternative but to stay healthy, keep your body in check, and keep your mind in a good state, then I think hot yoga, or just yoga itself, is a great option. I'm not going to do any publicity for anyone, of course not, but I went to Idolem, and it was shocking. Once again, the class was full. Of course, it wasn't too hot. I've had a lot of people say, well, yeah, the classes become too hot. It really wasn't. I feel like the temperature was perfect. And honestly, for a beginner who has never done hot yoga in his life, I loved it. And it's a course that I wouldn't mind taking again. And it's a course that I'm considering taking again. So am I joining a cult? Most probably. Am I going to be part of the hot yoga women's cult? Maybe by the next week or 2 weeks. Yes, I will. Am I telling on myself? I just did, but that's okay. Because I feel like 2 people listen to this podcast, and none of you are going to go ahead and snitch on me. So, hot yoga, guys. Hot yoga is a great alternative that you could add to your regular fitness routine. Or if you're someone who's just starting off, and if you've never really trained in your life and you're trying to find a way to get that going, I think hot yoga is a great way to get your body started, because you're loosening up your body. You're not really putting it in a place where you could hurt yourself, but you're more than anything else doing something good for your brain and for your body. Speaking about doing good for your brain, for those of you who follow sports, and for those of you who know that I already hate every Boston sporting team, I don't know if you know the owner of the Patriots, Mr. Kraft, who just got caught in a little weird situation. He paid off a few prostitutes to give him a happy time, and this is shitty for them, because year after year the same franchise goes through some messed up dilemma. Every year they manage a way to squash it. This year I am very excited to find out how they're going to let this one die out. I feel like it's crazy to be a multi-billionaire, to be an owner of a professional football team, to be married to probably a woman who's in her like early 30s compared to you who you're in your 60s, and yet get out of your way to pay for prostitutes. Now, that being said, do I feel like he actually did it? In all honesty, no. I feel like more than anything else, he's getting framed. That's a big word. Maybe he's just getting. Maybe they're taking advantage of the fact that he might have slipped up somewhere. He might have hung around with a shady group of people, or he might have done something shady. But to actually solicitate prostitutes, I find that relatively hard to believe. That being said, he is an older, extremely rich white man. So if history has proven anything, then that I might be wrong in this situation. Changing the topic because I feel like prostitution is not what I want to be talking about on this podcast. I want to go back into recently over the last 2-3 weeks, we've been talking a lot about fitness, and I want to go back into fitness because I've still been training. I've been going hard. It's about week 3 now that I've been training, and I'm hitting that place where you start to really get into it, and you start to set up that routine, and you start to really fixate on the minor details. So what I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to get myself into a place where I'm taking the proper steps inside and outside of the gym. So what I've started for myself more than anything else, and it was what I wanted to talk about this podcast today, and what I wanted the concept to be of this podcast today, is I see a lot of people doing 30-day challenges, and I've been a part of it. I've done it. I've started my own 30-day challenges, but I have an alternative for anyone who's listening to this who plans on bettering themselves. Maybe we should start doing 30-day challenges that force us to start doing something that we haven't previously done before. You understand? A lot of people do these 30-day challenges, and it's things that they've already done before. I mean, if you've already trained, then doing a 30-day fitness challenge where you're training, in my opinion, you're not really challenging your body, you know? And it might sound like an oxymoron because I've done it myself, and I have. And I can only sit here and say that because I personally believe that the benefits I got through that, yes, regardless of it being substantial or not, and I'm not trying to limit anyone from doing challenges. Everyone should be doing a challenge. But what I'm trying to propose now is challenge yourself over the course of 30 days to setting up new habits that you don't feel comfortable doing. What I mean by that is, for those of you who use iPhones, and for those of you who have Androids, I'm sure there's a million apps that provide you the same thing. There's something called downtime on your phone. So if you go into your settings and if you check your screen time, which already should scare the living shit out of you because you guys can see how much time we spend on these phones, on these applications, you guys have a feature that lets you block your usage of certain applications after a certain amount of time. What I suggest a lot of people do is, I don't know if you ever heard of blue lights. So blue lights are these lights that your phone emits, that your computer emits, or that your TV emits, that messes up with your brain signals, it messes up with your eyes, and it makes it really freaking hard for you to sleep because it's what these big companies use to get you to buy the products that they want you to buy, and that's how they get you to get into the product that they're trying to sell. So when you're on your phone and you're constantly scrolling and you're looking, your eyes keep getting these rays of blue lights that your eyes are just like, fuck, I want more, and you keep getting more. And then once you shut that off, you seem to have a harder time going to sleep. So where I'm going with this is, I'll give an example of one of the challenges that I've set for myself. And what I'm doing with this is keeping myself accountable. So what I've set up is, I've set up a whiteboard in my room where I've marked down 8 different challenges I want to do over the course of the next 30 days. Now, why 8? Because knowing my personality, knowing who I am, for sure some of them are going to fall through the cracks and I'm not going to end up doing every single one of them. One of them that I set up for myself is, I said I'm really going to try to cut out the cookies that I eat, because everyone has a vice, and my major vice is I enjoy eating cookies. And that's also one of the things that I found difficult now. Got to week 3 of my fitness challenge, I'm starting to find myself in a place where I walk past foods I used to eat before and I feel like I have to apologize, you know? I walk past the cookies and I touch them and I look at them and I speak to them for a little bit, and I'm like, hey buddy, listen, we had good times, but my stomach I can't do it anymore, you know, like I can. So you got to kiss the cookies goodbye. And for me, one of the challenges that I marked on my board was to put the cookies aside, and all that to come back to the original idea. I know I'm getting off track. I know I'm getting derailed. It's just probably the caffeine getting me excited. But that being said, so I set up a whiteboard in my room and I set myself up challenges. And the primary challenge that I was talking about, once again, is these blue lights. So what I mean with these blue lights is, what I've marked down on the whiteboard is, for the upcoming 30 days, I've set myself challenges that are synchronized together. So one of the challenges that I set for myself is giving yourself an allocated time of sleep. Now this sounds crazy, but take yourself when you were younger, right? And one of the things that people complain about the most nowadays is a lack of sleep. We complain that we're tired, that we're sluggish. Well, maybe it's because we don't give ourselves the required amount of time we need to fall asleep. So give yourself a bedtime. It sounds funny. You're not punishing yourself. You're not restricting yourself of anything, but be logical with yourself. I wake up at 5 a.m. Knowing that I have to wake up at 5 a.m., it does not make sense for me to sleep at 1, 2, 3 a.m. Those days are far behind me. If I was waking up at noon, if I was waking up at 1 in the afternoon, I'd be like, you know what, the lifestyle that I'm living permits me to sleep later, but because I wake up earlier, I should probably sleep earlier. So challenge number 1 for the next 30 days that I've set up is sleeping earlier. And how is this linked to the blue lights that I was talking about? So the blue lights make it harder for you to sleep. So if I've told myself that Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays I'm going to be sleeping at 10 p.m. Challenge number 2 is I open my phone, I go to my settings, I go to my screen time, and I click on the down light or the whatever it is. I can't really remember the name. I'll probably put a picture of it. Downtime. There you go. It's downtime. I'll probably put a picture of it. I'll tell you guys exactly how you get to it. So I go to downtime and I limit my application usage, mainly my social media application usages, an hour before I go to bed. So between the time I'm sleeping and an hour prior to that, so let's say I'm sleeping at 10, as I mentioned, from 9 p.m. until the time I wake up, my phone blocks me from using certain applications. So how about over the next course of 30 days, you put yourself in a place where you do something that you found uncomfortable. So if you're someone who's constantly scrolling through their phone and you find yourself tossing and turning at night and you're having a hard time sleeping, I know I only did it for 1 day, but I can already vouch for the first night of sleep, I already felt better. My phone was locked. It was closed an hour before, so I couldn't go on social media. I couldn't look at any of the lights. You put your screen light to the lowest that you can get. You put night display mode on, and believe me, your eyes will benefit and your brain will benefit as well because it'll give it a sense of calming down. A lot of people need to detach themselves. We need to get that plug out of the wall, but it's a figurative plug. We're talking about detaching our brains from all of these applications. So once again, to come back to the uncomfortable challenges that you would feel like you would never be able to do in your life. Let's say you're someone who constantly freaking resorts to eating processed food. You know, if you're someone who constantly binges on chips or candy or chocolate or cheese, it's a very weird one, but I know a lot of you out there love to eat bars of cheese. If you're someone of that aspect, instead of challenging yourself over the course of 30 days of something that you've previously done before, challenge yourself with things that are plausible and that you could find yourself doing, because in order to set up a habit, you only need 28 to 41 days. Neither of those two numbers are fun numbers because no one's going to track 28 nor 41. But if you're tracking 30 days, you're tracking a calendar month, except for February, which is ironic. But 30 days. And why did I set up a whiteboard? I set up the whiteboard because I believe I can speak for myself, but I can speak for a lot of other people as well. As a human being, my brain works better by enforcing itself with positive and negative reinforcement. So if you guys don't know what those are, positive reinforcement is you do something good, you get a pat on your back. Negative reinforcement is you do something bad, slap on the face. So how does that relate to the whiteboard? Every day that I follow the challenges that I've set for myself, I mark on my whiteboard. So if there are 30 days, I expect to see 30 markers on my whiteboard. And so if I slip up, which is normal, it's going to happen. It's bound to happen. We're all going to have it. I've marked on my whiteboard, try to have 4 to 6 servings of vegetables with every single day. Not every single meal, but every single day. I'm not a big fan of eating vegetables, but you know what? Seeing it on that whiteboard and allowing myself to remove myself from a place where I'm like, well, you know what? I don't lose anything if I don't do it. If I've done it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I already have 3 lines under that challenge, if I miss it Thursday, I'm going to feel bad because I will know and I'll be able to hold myself accountable to the fact that shit, I missed it. There is a day I missed, and human beings, intuitively, I feel like we hold ourselves to stuff like that and we liked stuff like that. Hence why when Snapchat was really popular, there were score streaks on it. And you can't lie, a lot of your friends get mad at you when you were cutting that score streak because they'd be like, yo, we kept going for 50 straight days. Same thing with the challenge. If you've gone for 10 consecutive days and on the 11th when you miss it, well, that sucks to be you. But the 10 days marked down hold you in check, and they make sure that you as a person know what you're doing day in, day out. So yeah, all that to come back. Let me track back and make it clear again. Challenge yourselves to things that you aren't comfortable doing. And why would you want to do that? But that's because you can better yourself. Let's say people who are afraid, let's say you have a fear of rejection. And this is not my theory, this is not my idea. I am just reiterating something that I read over the course of the last few days. Every single day, if you're scared of being rejected, right? Every single day, try to ask someone for something knowing that you'll get rejected. Don't flee from it. Become more and more comfortable with it and adapt to it. By the time you're into your 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 20th, 30th rejection, your mind will understand that, hey, this rejection isn't necessarily as bad as I used to associate it to be. A lot of people have that fear because they've never experienced it. Same thing with any other challenge that we've never done. You've never really turned off your phone an hour before you've gone to bed, so you don't know what it feels like. But if you do it over the course of 30 days, your brain gets used to it, and then your body's like, you know what, this isn't such a bad thing. So things that you've never done before, and again, if you want to keep doing it over the fitness, then that's fine. Keep it to the fitness, but also allow yourself to challenge yourself in aspects that you wouldn't do normally. Make your life more difficult than it has to be. See, one of the biggest challenges that I've marked for myself is taking care of my, like, this is gonna sound weird to say, but like your hair and your fingers and minor details like that. I like to bite my nails and like to bite the skin on my hands. It sounds weird. Too much information. I apologize. But if I never beat myself out of that habit, I'll keep doing it until it might be too late. So if you challenge yourself into getting over a hump, then you've bettered yourself. And the only way you could better yourself is by allowing yourself to change. And a lot of people want to change, but they have a hard time accepting that there is that change that needs to be done. Do you feel me? Do you understand? Like we all want to be better, but we have a hard time accepting that we can and there is better to become. Once you accept it, once you start working towards those steps, the little objectives that you set up for yourself start to become more and more plausible, and you'll notice that you're slowly becoming better because you're spending your time doing things that are more in favor of what you want to be doing, whether that is starting your own podcast or starting your own little photography business on the side or starting your own painting business, running a little more, drawing a little more, whatever it is that you want to be doing. And you might tell yourself, well, you know what, I really don't have time during the day. If you start changing your habits and if you start bettering yourself and prioritizing yourself, then you will get to there. So once again, challenge yourself in doing things that you haven't previously done in order to get to where you want to be getting. Now, on a quick note, I just wanted to ask you guys, I changed up the setting a little bit, changed the camera positioning, change where your point of view is from. So if you guys have any feedback, if you guys appreciate this view a little bit more, let me know. If you guys want it to go back to where it was, if you guys are traditionalists and you don't like change whatsoever, that's cool. Your opinion, once again, is valid. I'd like to know it. Also, for whomever was listening to the previous podcast where I mentioned that car salesmen are vultures because I was looking for a car, I did end up buying myself a car. Yes, thank you very much. I got myself a Jeep, not a Wrangler. So for whoever got excited for me, thinking that I was going to be living that cool life, unfortunately not. But I did purchase myself a Jeep Compass. Really proud of myself. I don't know why I'm saying this on this podcast, but I feel like I've been creating friends over here, so I feel like you guys deserve to know what I'm talking about. That's about it, guys, for today. I'm going to keep today's podcast short. It is Monday. There really hasn't been much going on over the course of the past week. Hope you guys are still really enjoying the videos. Once again, I had mentioned that we're going to be getting guests on soon. Confirming the date with one of them. Confirm the date with the second one, and then the third one, we've pushed it for a little bit further on. But because he is a very busy person, so once again, if anyone is interested in coming on, just send me a message. We could set it up. And thank you very much. Had a great podcast. Let me know what you guys think about the coffee addiction. If anyone's ever purchased anything from the website, Keep Lean Apparel, let me know what you think about it. If you guys have any comments, if you guys have any feedbacks, and about the setup, let me know what you guys think. Once again, episode 9 was a quick one. It was a blast. Not too much shit to talk about. But hey, we get it done. Challenge yourselves, people. Challenge yourselves into doing something you've never done before. So for some of you who have never been nice to people before, maybe start off by giving one compliment a day. And for those of you who who are just bitter. Learn that gratitude, learn to be nicer, learn to change, guys. There's always change. There's always ways to better ourselves. Let's not be bitter. Let's not be sad. Let's get some positive stuff going on in our lives. That being said, everybody have a wonderful day. Be safe. Weather outside is brutal. All kinds of wind. Potholes in Montreal. Whoa. Before I even finish, potholes in Montreal. What the hell is going on? I'm so happy right now that I have a Jeep, and I feel like I'm going to rub this in for a really long time. I feel bad for anyone who's not driving a 4x4 big ass car, because, hey, some of these potholes are deep enough to sink half of a regular car inside. And the only reason why I say that is because if you haven't noticed, some of these are like gigantic loopholes where if you put your foot in it, half of your knee goes down. It's like a rabbit hole. Like half of your knee goes down. You could almost search for treasure in there or some shit. Be careful. Really slippery. Don't try to play hero. Don't try to go outside in running shoes because they will not support you. Stay safe and watch out. And for the government, if anyone's listening, I highly doubt it. Fix the freaking roads because we're paying tax and it's not fair. So yeah, have yourselves a wonderful freaking day.